Jesse Livermore remains a titan of the financial world not because he could predict the future, but because he mastered the mathematical reality of the present. Even the greatest traders lose the difference, yet they know exactly how much they're allowed to lose. This single line holds the entire philosophy of Livermore's storied career. His success didn't come from guessing the next big move or relying on a crystal ball. Instead, it came from deeply understanding probability, mastering risk, and treating every position like a mathematical equation instead of an emotional gamble. In this guide, you're not just going to hear Livermore's wisdom. You'll learn how to apply it step by step in your own strategy. Once you understand what he understood, your whole relationship with risk changes forever. The professional vs. the amateur. Let's start with the truth few traders ever accept: you will lose trades. No matter how good your strategy is, or how advanced your indicators are, losses are inevitable. The difference between the amateur and the professional is what happens after that loss occurs. The amateur takes it personally, feeling like the market is out to get them. The professional takes it mathematically, viewing it as a simple cost of doing business. Jesse Livermore knew that trading isn't a game of certainty, it's a game of probabilities. He realized early on that even when you're wrong half the time, you can still be wildly profitable if you understand how to manage your risk and reward ratios effectively. The foundation of Livermore's system, and the first lesson you must master, is that every trade has two outcomes, but only one thing is under your total control: your loss size. You can't control whether the trade will work, but you can control how much you'll lose if it doesn't. Livermore used this control as a weapon. Before he placed a single trade, he calculated his maximum loss tolerance. He knew his pain point, the exact number where he would exit no matter what, before he even entered the market. That single habit changed everything for him. The 1:3 ratio, the golden standard. To make this practical, suppose you're trading with a 10,000 account. Livermore would never risk more than 1% to 2% of his capital on any single trade. This means your maximum loss per trade should be 100 to 200. If you lose that amount, you move on without a second thought. If you win, your reward should be at least 3 times that risk, resulting in a 300 to 600 profit. This is the 1:3 risk to reward ratio, Livermore's golden standard. This simple ratio allows you to be wrong twice and still make money on the third trade. That's the power of math over emotion. Most traders go wrong by focusing on being right instead of being profitable. They chase setups that look good emotionally, but make no mathematical sense. They risk 500 to make 100, which is a recipe for disaster. Livermore never did that. He filtered out every low probability setup before it could even tempt him. If the numbers didn't align, he didn't touch it. His logic was simple. Why take a trade that offers more risk than reward? You're essentially flipping a coin that's already unfair. If you play a game where you lose 1,000 every time you're wrong, but win 3,000 every time you're right, you only need to be correct 35% of the time to be profitable. That's the edge Livermore played with. Expectancy and the science of the series. Expectancy is the average amount you can expect to make or lose per trade if you repeated the same setup 100 times. Even though you might lose more trades than you win, a positive expectancy keeps you afloat. That's the science Livermore practiced every day. He didn't measure success by his win rate. He measured it by how well his math held up over hundreds of trades. You should do the same. Stop asking, will this trade win? And start asking, if I take this setup 100 times, does the math make sense? To take this further, let's talk about risk units, or R. A risk unit is the amount you're willing to lose on a single trade. If your stop loss is 100, that's $1. If your trade makes 300, that's +3R. Tracking your performance in R multiples removes emotional bias. Instead of thinking in dollars, you think in units, which keeps your decisions consistent. Livermore didn't call it R back then, but he lived by it. He knew that probability only works with a large enough sample size. 1 or 2 trades mean nothing. 50 or 100 trades begin to show your true expectancy. He said it's never one trade that makes or breaks you, it's the series. Emotional resilience through structure. When your losses are pre-calculated, fear disappears. You no longer panic when a price moves against you because you already know the worst-case scenario. That's how Livermore built emotional resilience. He didn't suppress fear, he replaced it with structure. His confidence came from clarity. Before every trade, define your maximum risk. Set your stop loss based on logical price structure, not emotion. Ensure your target offers at least 3 times the reward. Record the ratio in your journal. Track results in R multiples. Review your expectancy every 50 trades, not daily. Sarah, a disciplined trader, follows this path. Her small losses protect her capital, and her expectancy carries her through losing streaks. Alex, however, suffers emotionally when losses mount because he lacks a plan. Eventually, he starts risking more to make it back. That's when probability breaks. When emotion interferes with math, you lose. Livermore called this the operator's greatest danger: overtrading and overconfidence. He treated trading like an engineering problem, designing rules that made emotions irrelevant. His edge wasn't luck, it was logic. Selective participation. The art of doing nothing. Most traders think they lose money because they misread the market. But the truth is, they lose from impatience. They act before the market is ready. They trade because they're bored. Livermore used to say, "No trade is better than a bad trade." Survival in the market is about selective participation. Trading to him was like hunting. You don't fire at every sound, you wait for a clear target. Livermore's filtering process was ruthless. He asked, "Is the setup clear? Is the reward worth the risk? Is my mind calm?" If he couldn't answer yes to all 3, he didn't trade. He believed that the moment you trade out of anxiety, you've already lost. The market rewards those who can wait for clarity. He would sit for hours staring at the tape, watching prices move back and forth, yet doing absolutely nothing because he didn't see alignment. That was his real secret: disciplined restraint. He once sat out an entire month while others traded daily swings. When the market finally broke as he predicted, he made more in 2 weeks than most made in a year. The modern advantage? In today's digital world, technology gives us advantages Livermore never had. We have back-testing tools, AI, and instant analytics. Yet, traders still fail for the same reasons. We have no excuse to ignore risk management. You can use software to automatically calculate your position size, ensuring you never risk more than 1% of your equity. You can use digital journals to track your expectancy automatically. AI can scan hundreds of symbols to find 1-3 setups while you sleep. However, tools don't replace discipline. Livermore did it with a notebook and a pencil. He filtered out 90% of setups because they were mediocre. You must use your modern tools to do the same. Use alerts so you aren't glued to the screen. Set filters that only show trades with a 1-3 potential. Every subpar trade you take steals mental bandwidth from the great ones. By the time the right setup appears, your confidence is often exhausted if you've been chasing noise. Confidence is predefined certainty. Confidence doesn't come from a winning streak, it comes from knowing your loss won't destroy you. When you define your risk, you make peace with the worst-case scenario. You're no longer trying to avoid losing, you've already accepted it. This mental shift is everything. Once you stop fighting the idea of loss, your brain becomes free to focus on execution. Treat every trade like a business expense. Just as a shopkeeper pays rent, your losing trades are the cost of doing business. You wouldn't panic about paying rent because you've budgeted for it. Confident traders don't flinch because they've budgeted for failure. The market rewards emotional neutrality. The less you care about being right, the clearer you think. Livermore's genius wasn't in his timing. It was in his ability to think probabilistically when others were thinking emotionally. The path forward: managing the downside. If you want to trade like Livermore, stop trying to control the market and start controlling your math. Define your loss before entry. Accept it fully. Once you do, the market loses its power to scare you. You stop reacting and start executing. You stop guessing and start growing. Profit doesn't come from prediction, it comes from proportion. The trader who protects the downside earns the right to see the upside. Every time you sit at your desk, remember the formula: define your risk, demand a reward, and discipline your mind. One trade that follows the 1-3 law is worth more than 10 that don't. That is the line between a gambler and a professional. Livermore built his fortune through patience, structure, and math. You have the tools to do the same, only faster and more precisely. The tools changed, but the truth never did.